This is Back to the Barn. Man, finding out some prejudice on some crystal planets far away here, which is very interesting. So this is an episode where Peridot agrees to build something to go to the center of the Earth to stop this cluster. After putting on this wonderful presentation with Steven. Again, anytime they're together, I just love it. So they decide to build this ship, but Pearl's going to help out build it. In fact, she thinks she's going to give the orders, and Peridot doesn't want to do that because back where they come from, Pearls are sort of subservient. They're supposed to, like, take orders. They're not the ones giving orders and stuff, and the idea of doing this is absurd. So Steven has the idea to have a contest to see who should be in charge, and they build robots, and they do this great big contest. And in the end, they have this it seems to be a tie. Peridot doesn't want to do that, so Pearl starts fighting, and they start beating the crap out of each other. And even though Peridot technically wins, it looks like everyone still likes Pearl, if for any other reason, because she came from a place where this was not accepted, and she taught herself, and, you know, she's become all these great things. And finally, Peridot realizes, okay, we should work together. So, in some respects, kind of a basic story. It's, like I said, a lot of these prejudice stories, even though they're important, they usually don't grab me that much. But I found this one interesting because it's kind of a prejudice of another world. I think, like, when in Avatar: The Last Airbender, when they had the prejudice of, like, you know, the water bending wasn't taught to women or whatever just because. That was something I felt like, even though it's true of our history that this kind of stuff has been done and stuff hasn't been taught to women, it was a little too close to home. Like, well, okay, this is, I've seen this before. Not too close, like, you know, uncomfortable, but, like, just, I kind of felt like I've heard this lesson a lot before. Where with this one, it's a little bit more interesting because they're stones, and there's something about, like, how do these stones work, and in this other world, it seems like it's more class, and I don't know, that seems to, I guess that's never not going to be a thing. Well, neither is sexism or racism or any of that stuff, but there's something about the way they did it here I found more interesting. I think when you find kind of a different point of view, it suddenly becomes more fascinating. That's one of the reasons I love To Kill a Mockingbird, because, you know, we've heard that kind of story over and over, but not from a child's point of view watching it. And that character was so interesting. It's the same thing here. It's these characters that suddenly become even more interesting learning this, because I think especially with Pearl, it kind of makes more sense now why she's such a control freak and why she wants all the details and why she wants to be on top of everything and stuff, because she's coming from a background where she's not supposed to do that, and she's supposed to be what sounds like a second-class citizen. So it makes sense that not only would she want to be in control, but she's also compensating for the lack of control that's not only had she had, but has been forced upon her. So that was very interesting, and that kind of adds up even more to the character. All this stuff, it's not like... What's interesting about this show is that so many of the characters, you see where they come from, and again, they're sort of peeling more and more layers, and it's not something where, oh, well, this person had just this one thing happened, so that's their entire character. Batman's parents died, so Batman. I mean, I love Batman. That's one of my favorite characters. I'm not trying to simplify him, but so much of him is from that event. Everybody knows that one event. But for years, you know, the rest of his development was always kept kind of a secret. Nobody talked about his stuff, because that wasn't interesting. It's just, parents dead. You get it. Batman. And there's a lot of truth to that. The simplicity is great. But there's also these wonderful layers that they can reveal in stuff like Batman Begins and the animated series and stuff, where they show more and more of the character. They reveal more and more what made them who they are. And I think that's being done here too. And I think it's very well done. It was, you know, these are two stories now in a row that usually they can be screwed up so easily, and they can be done so bad. And they have been done so bad, and they sound preachy, and they're annoying and repetitive, but they're done so well here, and when they are done so well, you remember why people were telling these stories to begin with. Not just to hammer in a lesson, an important lesson, but one we hear a lot. Sadly, for some people, especially around election time, you figure out it doesn't sink in. But it's still good to... It's good to tell these lessons in new ways. I think that's the important part, because you're going to tell it in a way you already heard, you're going to get tired of it. I think back in the early 90s, like the big environmental thing. The environment's important, but with Captain Planet and Ferngully and all these Last Rainforest movies, I mean, you're just like, okay, got it, shut up! Like, it's not fun anymore, and it's not... You feel like you don't want to learn this stuff. You don't want to help out because you just want them to shut the hell up. If anything, they're doing more of a disservice by doing that. So by finding these new ways, these smart new ways of dealing with these lessons that are important, I think you can make them stick better. So I think using the characters through that, these characters that we already like and we relate to, makes it interesting. If the first episode just started off like this... with we don't know Pearl, we don't know Peridot or whatever, and it just sort of introduces us to this. I'd be like, okay, whatever, fine, I guess, but because we know Pearl, because we know her character, suddenly this is a much more interesting background, this is much more interesting backstory. So I liked it, even though in many respects, it's kind of a time waster episode, and how much did it really further the story? It didn't. This whole episode could have been, hey, let's just build a ship, and it's them building the ship. We could have used it to progress it on, but I didn't mind. The robot fight is fine. I think the past few episodes have been moving stories along so well that it's nice to take a little bit of a break from it. But, yeah, so it's, who Peridot's remind me of? She's reminding me kind of like a female Marvin the Martian. Especially when we see her with the rest of the group. She's tiny, she's green, she's got this big... I think that's her hair, I don't think it's a helmet, but it kind of looks like a helmet. Very Marvin the Martian. So yeah, I'm trying to think anything else. Top of my head, I can't think of anything. Just seems to be going in a good direction, still, having fun teaching old morals, new ways, and still great stuff. So, yeah, keep it up, and we'll see more coming up. Later.